All right. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, hold up. My Zoom is not working. Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. Cool. So hopefully this new app works out. Whenever you guys go look at the recording or anything like that, let me know what you guys think. But it should be much better than previously. Yeah, I think we should be good. All right. So let's see, based on last week, let me close Discord, you guys. Um, okay, I'll open Discord back up here in a bit. Cool. So dollar bit a bit slow this week. We were kind of anticipating this to continue higher, but the reaction from this previous high, right, is kind of what's pausing us at the moment. And I'm still technically bullish, but when we kind of convert back to being bullish is like a different story. Like if we go into an internal time frame, right, it's very clear here that we have reached some type of unwillingness based on the previous high. So based on the previous high, this is now technically internally bearish. So because that's internally bearish, like I wouldn't be surprised, right, if we're like currently looking at internal structure, maybe we see something fail, and then like the beginning or the rest of today, the beginning of next week, we kind of just start going down a little bit more. And depending on what happens here, or even here, because we can then say that because we broke here, we're not kind of anticipating the next level of liquidity to be ran because this would confirm us to still be bearish. So at least from the internal POV. So it now becomes interesting if we do reach for, let's say, these sets of equal lows right here, right? Not because they're equal lows, but because if we are to sweep that, then we can have an opposing bullish sweep model kind of potentially come into play. And if that's the case, then we can then go back to being bullish. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for at the moment. After I was pretty bearish on EU, AU, GU this week. And after that, as soon as that had kind of failed on me, I kind of just stopped for the week. So because I stopped for the week, I am not kind of just sitting on my hands and trying to see if, let's say, wait, like I said, one scenario, two scenarios, or maybe even like a POI tap, right? And so I just don't want to guess. And I'm not really at a point where I want to sell this, even though it is technically viable, just because, like we said here, right? Internal bear structure, technically structural disruption. So this could technically be a valid sell scenario, which would be obviously, you guys know how to trade dollar against other assets, right? So, yeah, like I said, bit interesting POV right now. Bit of an interesting POV now. We're kind of reacting from this internally. So yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see for next week. But let's talk about some of the positions from this week. So AU, if you guys saw the case study posted yesterday, the I did talk about like my loss here. Um, and I talked about why that loss came into play, and I probably won't cover it here today. I don't want to waste too much time. But yeah, pretty much an easy bear structure internal equal highs, internal POI, right? Buy to sell. And based on the internal structure, we came into taking out equal highs, and then my execution, right? This adds on more to the context. Pretty much we're within, we have just taken out a major daily high, and then we're kind of starting to see structure slow down, plus we have equal highs being swept, but more importantly, we're starting to see some high momentum here. So that's why I was even looking for the first position in the loss, right? Because we have some high momentum, but at the same time, we do have unwillingness to the downside, so I would need something relatively clear here to want to go lower. And I took this very prematurely. Like, this was if you guys were in the group chat, I was talking about a very high risk position that I took here on AU, because the only reason why I took this so early was a sole conviction play, whereas I wasn't being conservative. If we see here, right, my entire move came from this engulfing based on potential relative equal highs being swept, based on tapping a previous POI, based on the overall picture that's in play, because we are, like I said, we're sweeping this previous daily high. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that's what I'm talking about. So we're within an extreme premium. We're sweeping equal highs. We have momentum after the sweep of the equal highs, and then we're coming back into the relative point of interest. So within the point of interest, I'm seeing equal highs being swept, and then the engulfing is kind of my execution, or my reason to execute, right? And clearly the execution is a bit aggressive. So if I was to have waited for a more conservative entry, it must have been through waiting for this entire POI, right? The buy to sell, which is what the original image was technically meant to imply, right? This break of structure, because it's the final low into the high, that's what relative equal highs, it's tapping the POI, etc. That would have been this. So this break, and then there was actually some even more high conviction plays here. Like, this is probably much more conservative, but much more high probability. Why? Because you could say that this is an internal CBOS. So because that's an internal CBOS, which is the counter POV to the bearish scenario. Then once we see this kind of have one big engulfing candle that fully causes a reversal BOS here, and there is a high momentum play here, there is an inefficiency move here. So this would be like super high probability. But like I said, I was being a bit aggressive here. Probably won't be doing that again for a bit, but it's just one of those like gut feelings that I feel like I should take. Just because everything is kind of aligning, right? And everything is sort of alignment with our style these days. But yeah, this is continuing lower. As of yesterday, right, I was actually more so looking forward to potentially seeing this going to play, and it did react, as you can see. But just because we did react, we didn't follow through. So because we failed to break this high, and we now have internal bearish structure, then I am bearish. All right, so let me actually check if I got fully broken even or not. No, I'm still no. I still have my partial. I mean, I still have like a partial of my position, and so yeah, we'll see how this plays out next week. The original bias was to hopefully, excuse me. The original bias here was to get us back into, right, this previous low. Why this previous low? Because if we're going to the external POV, if we're sweeping equal highs and we swept here and then we have a transition here, and technically now we can consider this a mitigation, and there's now a more conservative play and a more conservative play to be played off of here, then I'm more so looking at the opposite side of the range that's being swept. So this is more like a reversal sweep. So obviously overall this would be my target, but because we're sweeping eagle highs, because we're reacting here, and because now we failed to convert bullish, then this is my immediate target for next week. Right? So That's still in play. Probably hold that for the weekend. And this is a good example now, guys, of one of those scenarios where the adjustments that I've made with the break even stuff is now kind of really benefiting, because yes, this scenario was correct with execution, which my execution was like here. Yes, in terms of execution, it's a very good execution, but technically it failed, right? And this is one of those scenarios where just because it fails one way, right, doesn't mean that it can't immediately fail after that, and more importantly here. So because this is now in play, this is now a new bearish scenario, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it supports this one. And if I'm considering this, right, as now a failed scenario, because technically it could still be considered the high of the move, but maybe it wasn't the correct execution from a conservative POV. And by conservative POV, I mean, based on the available information, this is still aggressive to some extent, and the execution is aggressive, but this is why I'm breaking even and not kind of trailing my stop. Because now there's a scenario where this kind of just pops up early next week and continues lower because it failed to go higher here. And that is now a fail to go higher based on this set of momentum, right? But this set of momentum invalidates this one. But just because you get the reaction doesn't mean you get the follow through. And so, do you guys get what I'm saying with just because it failed here doesn't mean it can't refail again? Do you guys understand what I mean with that? Hmm. Cool. So yeah, so I'm not saying going break even or slightly into profit, etc., is better than trailing your stop. I'm just saying I'm a bit more versatile and I'm willing to accept the risk of letting this go back to my break even if it means that there is the potential scenario where it fails against me and then it fails for me. Right? That's just kind of the gist. And the offset to that is taking partials, right? So I just want to be able to I just don't want to make a decision that could withhold me from maximizing my trades. And the only way to know a decision that, or to know or be aware of a decision that could affect you from your trades is something that you can control. And the only things I can control is my execution, my management, and my risk. So what you consider to be a part of each is like dependent on you. But yeah, this is a good example, because if you saw the case study from yesterday, I was actually more so leaning towards the bullish side now, right? Even though I had still broken even, but now we're seeing the scenario where it does fail, and this is why we trade failures, because now it's weird that a failure of a failure is now like a reason to stay in the trade, which is this is weird, right? But I guess it's just a consequence of how it is that we're trading these days. But yeah, that's still in play. This is my original position, like there. But yeah, lucky me, right? Lucky me for this to not have fully broken me even. Very lucky me. And like if we're also referencing like this is also like a play where this is a POI, but there's high momentum going against you. So it's like until this happens, or more importantly, even this. So I'm hoping this gets swept and then we kind of just go lower, or this kind of just rolls over, right? That would be cool. Um, because like this weekly closure might be, yeah, you see, a bit, kind of might have got the high of the week. Really cool. But yeah, but do you guys see why I'm also looking for this sell scenario to begin with? Is because momentum slowing down, we're within an extreme premium in a swing, but I need to align this internally in order to even justify the position, right? And that alignment came from internal momentum here, right? And like if you want to ask me like how to differentiate this type of momentum and like how to recognize it as high momentum, like just easily compare it to here. Like just count the candles, like you know. You don't even have to count them literally, but like you get what I'm saying. Right. So yeah, I guess a lucky scenario for me here. And so I guess you could say I'm leaving myself open to be lucky too, but I don't want to reach. Second scenario, EU. I took EU and GU sales right around news on Wednesday, and that was just due to the reaction from there. So there's there's another thing that I go back and forth on is like the time of like how the time of day affects whether or not you should influence or you should take a trade or not. And I think there's a lot of nuance to it. And I do think it's fine, like if someone doesn't want to trade, because I also used to have that opinion, right, where you want to only trade certain scenarios at certain times of the day. And that makes sense from like a volume perspective. Like you want to, if you're trying to play a scalp position, then more than likely you want to execute when there's more a higher probability of momentum and volume coming into the market. Like that makes entirely a lot of sense, and it does make sense. But if you're also now looking for the intraday sense, then the intraday sense kind of more so relates to, let's say, a major intraday and then even like a swing POV. And when it comes to these swing scenarios, these intraday scenarios, like it's not fully reliant um on time of day, right? Especially if you're looking for like a swing. Like let's say we're looking at an H4 move, right? If you were to go back, right, and you were to look for swings that could potentially be related to your model, let's say here, 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 whatever, right? Whatever. So let's say we go through all of these, right? And you relate the time of day to the asset, and you can do this across a couple of assets. Look at the difference in when, and obviously it may not even be the high. I'm just saying like this could be one scenario, but your entry could be like here, right? All I'm trying to say is if there's if the scenario for the swing POV is not necessarily tied to a time of day, but more so tied to the scenario itself, then just based on the markets being fractals themselves, that means that if you have enough conviction in the setup, then you can take it whenever you want with reason. And like the reason why I'm looking for these positions with EU and GU, sorry, on Wednesday is one, news is usually right, especially like these FOMCs, like they're usually like catalysts to give us some type of volume later in the New York session, right? And two, transition. Like we're seeing bearish, we're seeing a transition, we're clearly seeing a sweep, and I'm just looking for an excuse to risk. But it's because the move still hasn't fully like manifested that I even give myself um the clear to want to take a position. So like this is like something I'm trying to solve now, and it's like when to justify taking a position like during Asia outside of UJ, because you guys know I only like to look at UJ, and it's 100% dependent on the setup. So like if we were here and my target was here, obviously I don't really want to take the scenario during Asia. Why? Because let's say the price action is here, and now we're seeing maybe maybe this circle is like here, we're here. Then I don't really want to sell even though there's still the bearish scenario, even if I have like a setup. Because there's a possibility of seeing an external CBOS, maybe seeing a POI, and then seeing this maybe during London. But within this type of scenario, the transition just occurred during early New York. The transition just occurred from bullish to bearish. So because that is the case, right, and it is late New York, and there is news, but the intraday scenario is there because it's not a scalp, this is an intraday scenario. I'm not gonna holding this at least till like the next day, hopefully, or I mean, hopefully less time, right? But you know, get what I'm saying. The then the odds of me seeing a better scenario play out here, I don't put that then on time. I put that then on the setup. If the setup is good and I'm seeing the transition come into play, right, and the transition still hasn't left me, then I think it's justifiable to take that outside of the trading rules, right? But this is more so like if you're already, seeing some type of progression with your stuff. Like if you're still learning and practicing, I don't think this is ideal for you. But these are like problems that like I try to solve in real time for myself, right? And you guys bring up stuff like this, so it gets me to thinking too. So I was talking to like a friend about this too. It's like if the scenario is present and we still haven't had the move occur, and the the like I said, the move hasn't ran, and even though it's outside of my trading hours to an extent, I think it's still worth it, right? Especially with news. But hopefully you guys understand that it's not because of the news. It's not because of anything outside of the quality of the setup. right? Being enough for me to want to risk it. Generally looking forward to the video to catch rest. Yeah, man, awesome. Oh, and it's cool now. I can actually include the chat now. If since I have the screen recording software, I can include the chat now. Do you still use the data range to calculate momentum? I mean, what do you mean the data range? I mean, bro, just count the candles. Like it's not that deep. Like this is very clearly this move here is very clearly less momentum than this, and this move to the downside is much more slower than this. So like, I don't want to say it's intuitive. I'm just saying like this is very clearly slower than this. So clearly it's there's a discrepancy in the momentum. Momentum is just speed, bro. It's not like if you want to talk volume, that's another story. Like I don't really care for volume most of the time. Um, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, this EU trade transition. This is a bit of a risky one. Like this is I'm solely taking this because we sweep equal highs and more so we see a buy to sell. And because that buy to sell has like an internal SD, then I think it makes sense to want to take this. But my invalidation really should have been here. And this was pre-news, so because it was pre-news, I was kind of a bit being a bit risky there. But the GU trade was actually much more cleaner, right? Whereas with EU, this is a much more aggressive setup because there's a scenario where this fails, comes into a POI, and then goes in my favor. So my invalidation can hit before my move can occur. Whereas with GU, if my invalidation is to be hit, then the entire scenario is invalidated. So that's another source of like being conservative and aggressive. It's like, can my SL be hit and still go in my favor? Without it being an unreasonable setup. I think this is a bit unreasonable because we've already seen a sweep and high momentum transition. So because if this is to fail, then I would then look for the bullish sense. But you can see right here, sweep, internal high momentum, and then I just took the entire POI. I wanted to make it simple. All right, and then there's engulfing there too. So I mean, wanted to add more confluence, but more than anything, it's the sweep, bear structure, the sweep, and the high momentum. High momentum is usually kind of like my biggest telltales, and momentum is directly tied to high momentum is directly tied to engulfings. So if you want to ask what my favorite confirmation is right now, it's probably that. Back in the day, we used to consider this the sign of strength, or showing its hand. If you guys remember that, that used to be like the key way of us noting this high momentum. Maybe I just didn't describe it as that, but yeah, that's the if you guys remember. But yeah, both of these ended up hitting TP1 and then kind of just breaking even. So yeah, here. So TP1, partial, break even. And there was actually a very, very nice transition here. If anybody was able to take that, that's very clean. Very clear target one. And that was like prime like New York session. So here, this one as well, TP1. Right, TP1 and then the sweep, and then you could see another scenario here, very similar to EU. If anybody caught these trades, these are very good trades. I'm not gonna lie, they were very good trades. Hit here, didn't hit that. So I don't know, just because of how strong this move is, and we failed to go higher here. You guys can see that. I'm more so leaning bearishness again. I saw the EU transition, but GU was a bit tricky for me. Yeah, it's tricky solely because of this. Like, I agree. I 100% agree. Like, I just didn't find it tradable. Because if you look at EU, there's a very clear sweep, right? So there's a clear sweep, right? It's not because of the sweep, it's because of what the sweep signifies. This just means that we have a solidified high. So once that breaks, right, then we have a very clear intentional move. And if you trade this, like, I don't even know what maybe M15 candle? What, maybe? Yeah, very nice here, but this is very nice. Yeah. So, but GU didn't do the sweep, you know? So because it didn't, this is like less probable for me. Even though there is a sign of strength here, it's still not a failed reaction. So like what makes this so important is the fact that we had the sweep, but that solidifies the high. So because that solidifies the high, that signifies, because we have a solidification here, right? Because we have that solidification, that sweeps, but then that breaks, right? That is high, low, retracement, right? We didn't have a CBOS, but we did have a solidified high here. So although the pullback high wasn't solidified, there was something solidified. And as long as something solidified is taken, right? Maybe you guys want to note that because this is like one of those points of confusion with SD. Or just even with any type of failed move. It's like as long as there's something that's solidified and then swept, even if it's not the actual pullback high or low, it's still valid for me. It's still valid for me here. But yeah, I honestly I do see this probably failing next week. I hope to see this fail next week. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be cool. Did we come back here? Looks like we did. Did we talk about Bitcoin last week? Because I'm seeing my bias is playing out on that. Definitely I'm just not bullish on that. I just haven't been, never been. And actually, I did talk about it in one of the case studies, I think, where I was still bearish, even though the internal was bullish. But we'll cover that here in a bit, and then get into case studies. Then I gotta run. But yeah, I'm hoping next week we see something like this. This would be cool, like a internal sweep, failure, high probability. And can you guys explain to me why I would consider this sweep, sweep, and then high probability? Like, why is it two sweeps? No. Why would I want two sweeps? Think fractals. Maybe not LGC, but you're close. You're on the right track. Just think fractals. It's simple. It's simple. Why do we want two transitions? There's two sides of the coin that we always want to consider. No, not to show its hand, bro. No, guys. Internal, external. If we sweep here, we solidify the low. But because we solidified the low, and even if we have a sweep, it's a here, right? Let's say I have that sweep. This is still bullish because it confirms the LGC. So therefore, I would need this to solidify so that then, right, this is in SD, right? So if we have SD, then this is considered a sweep, and this is then considered a traditional model. So if that's the case, then I can then align to be bearish. But if this solidifies, this breaks, even if it's an unsubstantial new high, this is still a bullish range. So you need external, internal. And like the term external, internal, like maybe I might need to find like a better way to explain it, just because like when you're talking about internal, external, like there's so many internals to the externals and externals to the internals. Yeah, exactly. So like this is a very clear bullish range, right? We're very clearly in a pullback. We haven't solidified a low yet. So the pullback has not been solidified. We solidify the pullback, right? But then that's aligned with this. So I would need to see then the pullback internally fail, right? Internal, external. But this is aligning the external, and then this is aligning the internal, right? Assuming this solidified, right? And then go lower. That would be cool. That's kind of what I want to do. That's what I like. And like guys, we're in open season right now. Like spring season, summer season, best trading months of the year by far. So like you guys are seeing these moves play out. I think a lot of you starting to see these moves play out, right? Like there you could very clearly see that there's transitions in place. So when I consider this to be like healthy scenarios, so because there's healthy scenarios, they're tradable scenarios, and as long as we're seeing transitions, then we're good. Right now, the only hard part, especially with the intraday scalp POV, is being dynamic to the point where you can trade both sides. Like even if I'm selling, this is something that I'm also like, I don't want to say struggling with, but it's just something that like I find hard to do. It's right if I'm bearish here and I see a very clear buy scenario here, should I buy or not? And I usually don't. I usually don't, because there's always a scenario where this fails and it continues higher. Because my original bias is usually always alignment, right? The source of all of my losses are alignment, right? So if I'm taking the sell, it's probably because it aligns, right, on a bigger scale. So to go against it kind of goes against the model itself, but going against that model itself is another model in and of itself, if that makes sense. So that's what makes it difficult to be dynamic, because you're kind of going against what you're already trading, unless you're trading some type of dynamic, hedge model where, right, you're looking for the buy scenario like here, but then you're also trading this sell scenario and then this buy scenario here. And that's what people consider like ping pong, right? But is that like ideal for you? I mean, yeah, if you have the balls to take all these positions and you're able to not cloud your judgment, align your trades. No, 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 no. Alignment. Alignment doesn't mean that you're aligning your trades with higher time frame. Because the higher time frame is nothing without the internal time frame, but the internal time frame is also nothing without the external time frame, because they are in unison. This is alignment, right? Higher time external, or you can say external, internal. It's not that one outweighs the other. Maybe, I mean, it's not to say like this is also another good conversation to have. It's like, does the higher time frame actually rule everything, or is the higher time frame only manageable because of the internal? Like, these are just questions that you have to ask, and then maybe rather than saying that the higher time frames are key, maybe just say that the higher time frames, right, use through the lower time frames, or if you're using the lower time frames to justify the higher time frames, then we can just call it alignment. Because yes, I used to say like that higher time frames rule, right? But that's like a hierarchical thing where like these moves here, or the moves here will more than likely play out here, but in order for these to play out, something here has to fail. But at the same time, like these plays here aren't playable without these. So one relies on the other, and it's maybe better not to look at it from what's better, but more so like what can you combine, what can you align to create a favorable setup? Because like, what do you think is a better scenario, guys, based on this week? This sell scenario or this sell scenario? It's a tough question because like you consider one, if the trade won, how much did it win? But how much was aligned for that win to occur? Because obviously you could say that the trade that gives me the most money is like the best trade, but that's not true. That's not true on every sense. Because I could probably take a bet. Let's just say I'm saying that. Let's just for argument's sake say that the GU scenario was actually better than the AU scenario, but the GU scenario ended up breaking even. Then why is it still better? Right? That's like important stuff to know. Like, and if you guys have an answer to that, I'd like to know. Like, which one do you think is a better scenario and why? This one, or this one, or this one? Right? I'll let you guys think about that for a little bit. Ooh, this one though. Nice, 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 nice. We talked about this last night. In the case study, if you guys remember. This is kind of what I'm looking for next week. This would be cool. Like, this would be cool. If it was earlier in the day, I'd even take it. But who knows? I would love to see this like react, maybe sweep again next week, and then give me lower pricing. This would be cool. But I was talking about this yesterday on the case study. Try sweep. 1, 2, 3. Try sweep. Align your trades. Good topic. I would have been inclined to say EU, but yeah, tactical question. Because you're not right and you're not wrong. But I mean, unless like, I mean, for me there is a right and wrong, right? But this is stuff you got to think about. And this is very important to be more aware of like the types of positions that you're taking. Um, and it ties to everything we've been talking about over the past like couple of weeks, especially with like automating this stuff. Like it's very difficult. I like it's so difficult automating my stuff just because every scenario that looks the same is really different. And like just like we did last week with the UCAD scenario, how you could see the same relative sweep. It looks visually the same, but it's just a different trade because of the environment that it's behind or what's backing it, where it was a bearish structural range or a sweep on a sweep. So even though the trades look the same, they're very different, right? And these are questions I think nobody asks. And like if you don't ask these questions, then it's not possible to automate it. Right? So think about that. What do you guys think? GU, which one was the best scenario, like on paper? EU or the AU? Right? Anybody else? Any guesses? Excuse me. Any more guesses? No? Or did I just trump you guys? Tough question. Any more guesses? EU, AU, GU. And this is why it's a trick question, right? Maybe if somebody answers, nobody else, no guesses. Look, this is why it's a trick question. Because I'm not even showing you guys the external. So GU may look better internally based on the setup, but the environment is different. Why? Because there's a daily sweep that's still being traded against. And although the range is bullish, we're in a discount. Technically from the high of the range, right, that led to the sweep. So selling here may not be ideal. Right? So this may look better internally, but this is where I say like after we sweep liquidity too, it's like continuing is usually not ideal, even though the setup looks better. So in the higher time frame, it's like not necessarily ideal to sell because we've already sold off. But from the internal POV, it's actually a very nice setup. That's why I'm able to even get the reaction. Because I'd rather get a reaction and then fail than to just see my entire position fail. Right? And so therefore, this may not be the most ideal scenario. EU. Same thing, right? We're trading against a daily sweep. Right? We're trading against the daily sweep, right? Currently. And we failed to break a high. So that means that we're still technically bearish on the overall scheme because we solidified this. We broke this low, meaning we have unwillingness based on the previous high. But internally, right, it's a very nice setup, very good setup, very clean setup. And yet it still failed because technically we are the in between this and the daily sweep is that we have already extended the bearish range. So it may not be ideal to want to take that timing. Alignment. This is what I mean with alignment. AU here. Whereas this one, it's working out, right? But I'm going against the daily potential sweep but the transition to the downside has not occurred yet. So pretty much everything internal, right? I'm pretty sure the indicator is probably still showing a lot internal as well, right? A lot of the internal still, external, sorry, is still bullish, even though the internal is starting to convert bearish. But from this POV, if I'm playing against that and I'm seeing that there's a potential failure coming because of the high momentum, that increases my hunch to validate, right, the previous equal high sweep, the previous daily sweep, right? And then this transition is then aligning with that, what I just said with the momentum, which is aligning with the equal highs, which is aligning with the daily sweep. So in terms of potential, this one has the most potential, but does that make it better, right? And like there might not even be an answer. Like, yes, this is the one that's winning. It's giving me it's producing the highest yield, but that doesn't make it a better scenario than this, because this could end up breaking me even, right? But pretty much what I'm trying to get at is, if you start to note these things and you start to actually notice like what it is that makes these trades align and what it makes them actually win, then you can actually start to measure, right? Or at least try to have some type of level of alignment, right? Where you can now have an understanding of what you would consider higher time frame, middle time frame, lower time frame, or external, internal, etc. Because it's only until then that you can achieve alignment between any of these, because you first have to know that they're present. If you know that they're present, then you can kind of align them now, right? And how much to align, when to align, $1 million question, right? But now, if you're starting to notice this stuff, characterize this stuff, then it becomes a bit easier to even potentially try to automate this stuff. So that's why I said, like maybe like a week ago, it's like, stop, like these guys that are saying they're automating like other people's strategies, like all that's BS, all that's hype. Like it doesn't, it like nobody could code my strategy for me if I cannot do it, because you don't know what's going on in my head. It's my style, right? So it doesn't make sense, right? And it's only until you start to notice these things to figure out what actually aligns to give you a winner that you can then potentially try to automate. Right? If we're going to use intuition, nuance to trade to trade discretionally, manually, then let's at least use that let's at least try to be more aware of what's going on to give us a better chance. AU warrant deep premium, bullish order flow is weakening, bearish momentum is building, daily high sweep. Yeah, exactly. So this has the most potential to the downside, but that doesn't necessarily make it a better scenario. The best scenario is, like, if you want to like a hack or a cheat code, it's like how many things are aligning, and it's crazy because it always roots back to like how many confluences do you have, but it's also like, well, the most important thing is, do you have a good set of confluences? Do you have a good set of confluences? Yes. Okay, so how many of them are aligning, and how many dimensions within each confluence is aligning? And what I mean with that, like, if we have POI as a confluence, how many POIs are aligning to give you a scenario? Right? Because this is dimensionally different than this. And why am I saying this is an internal POV, external POV? Simple. Just look at the distance. Right? Everything falls down to X and Y axes. Right? And then other dimension, levels of structure. Like, this is currently technically aligned. Right? The external is not aligned. But because all time frames are actually technically bullish on the external, right? Because technically all of these are technically bullish, and if these are converting bearish, then this combination technically means that you're within an overextended range. And you can confirm that using this, right? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, building relationships. Oh, what the fuck? Yo, did Zoom just crash? Oh, that's weird. Recording going on. What the hell? I think Zoom just I think Zoom just updated. That's weird. Let's see. No idea what just happened, but I think we're still recording though. We're fine. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. My bad, guys. My bad. I think Zoom just auto updated. I don't know. It's weird. But this is why I'm done with this app. I'm so done with this app. But yeah, I do have some last couple announcements to make before we wrap up today. All right, cool. We got people back on. All right, cool. My bad, guys. I don't know what happened. This is why I'm so over this app. Best case scenario, I might start like just streaming again. Like I kind of have a software ready. I've just been procrastinating. Um, but yeah, hopefully, I'll just wrap up that little rant right there. We'll just go into some quick case studies. I do have some couple of announcements. So in 3 weeks. Wait, how many days are in this month? 11? No, in like yeah, in about 3 weeks, it's the 6th year anniversary of RCV. Right, 2 days after my birthday. It's actually the anniversary of RCV, so I want to do some stuff. I want to do something cool. Um, if you guys want like a sneak peek, I am trying to remake my entire website. I want to have like a login system again and all that stuff. It's actually relatively easy now to make with AI. It's just the security thing is like the big thing. Um, Mainly because I want to make like the subscription cheaper if anybody wants to only watch the case studies. And that way I can have like descriptions of every video and stuff too on there. And yeah, I think it's like 40 something on YouTube and they take like a third of everything. So I'm not trying to deal with that. And that way I can make it much more customizable. I can have like blogs, like a little forum. I can just have like an actual internal community and still keep the chat in Discord. And that way I can even relieve like a lot of bloat from the Discord here. Right? Like if I can relieve like a lot of bloat, and then maybe just have like one internal, either a bot in the Discord, or I could have a everything kind of just moved over to the the website. That would be cool. You know, that'd be really cool. So I have that planned. I might give away one of my books for for the anniversary. I want to do the first workshop, right? And that workshop is going to be covering probably just solidified point and alignment. And I want to do that one, and yeah, I want to get back into that streaming. And I want to actually start streaming rather than maybe using Zoom. Zoom sucks. It's terrible. But yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll think of other stuff too. Like Assev is still growing. The Cove releases at the end of this month. Actually, I'll make an announcement for that probably in the channel. There's gonna be like a public beta. So what about Discord calls instead? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Oh, Discord calls. No, no, no. The issue with Discord, um, actually, I don't know. Maybe I could try it out, but I think I have to pay for like the subscription too. So if I could find like a Zoom that's like free and actually better than Zoom, that's like I think that's better. Or I could just knock off two things with one, or two birds with one stone, which is like streaming this and then still having like some type of capability here. with the chat, and then I'm able to record and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't like the Discord thing. I don't like it. But yeah, I do want to revamp the site. I want to make that a lot better. Who knows? I mean, I could do a lot of things, guys. Like I have I have my entire brain for RCV like in one place. Like I could even make like a chatbot app, but like if you talk with AI, if you mess with AI, like most of those chatbots are kind of BS. So like to make it actually useful is a bit difficult, right? Like it can answer like certain questions and stuff, but I mean, I don't know, like it's not something that I still want to do the bootcamp. I mean, for the bootcamp, it would just be workshops, bro. Like I could just do different topics. Like the first workshop would definitely be like solidified points and alignment. Um, make that relatively cheap for the first, like, because this is gonna be the first one, and then from there just go based on what you guys want. Cause like realistically, guys, what do you guys think you guys are missing from like to breach the gap? What do you guys think you're actually missing? Because I'm giving most of the stuff like free, right? And like I can't really withhold stuff from calls because like it then it wouldn't be true. Like I'm like with this trading stuff for me, it's all or nothing. Like if I'm gonna show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, etc. Like that's like there's only one way to do that, and trying to withhold information kind of just breaks the whole system apart. But like, what do you guys think you're realistically missing? Because I have a couple of apps that I'm building too, and I don't like I have like a journaling app that like I could easily release, and if I can make that for free, that would be cool. But like I just think that's like not that useful. Like, what do you guys think? Notion is a bit complicated. Yeah, but like here's the thing, bro. It's like most of those journaling apps don't even help you. Like journaling doesn't help you at all if like you're not even accounting for your assumptions. And like maybe a decode course and solidified points, but since you mentioned that already, cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would go through everything related to solidified points. So it's like the structure is like, look, I'll show you guys something. Let's see. Hmm. But yeah, Notion is a bit complicated. Yeah, cause like I mean, there's apps like TradeZella and like what are the other popular ones like what's his name Jalen was talking about one last week, and like they're all kind of the same, but I just don't think that's worth your money. Where is Discord? All right, cool. By the way, guys, if you guys want like a browser recommendation, this is a really good one. Helium. It's very lightweight, and it's fast. It's like Google Chrome, but like lighter and more secure. But yeah, like think about that, guys. Like, what do you guys think you actually need? Like, nothing really, just Discord core. Yeah, I mean, true, but just having things organized in one platform, that's all that matters on my side. Yeah, okay, exactly. Because like the thing is making something like that is easy. Um but like think about it like this too. What would the application need to have and how much would you be willing to pay for it? That's kind of what it falls down to. Because the only thing that really makes an AI cost anything, or an AI, sorry, an app like a trading app cost anything is the login system, um, the any AI capabilities because that requires like a model you have to pay for on the side, which isn't too expensive. All that's just math that you can do like to calculate how much someone gets or whatever. Um, what else? I mean, you could pay for more usage if you use the AI stuff, but because I don't think there's even anyone with like a true app like that, bro. That actually has like a really good journaling app with an AI side to it. Because like, how much would you really pay for that for what you're talking about right now? What, like a couple dollars a month, max? Like, what would you actually realistically be your peak? Um, I like this, but like, there's alignment, but this looks like it's already trended. So because it's already trended, 20-30 bucks a month. Okay, I mean, that's more than I thought. But yeah, this is trending downward. So because it's trending downward, who knows if the transition was here from bullish to bearish? So because this looks overextended, like this looks like it could fail. Yeah, and like you're in a discount technically from this, and you just swept this. So is that an engulfing? Looks like an engulfing. So it looks like this is gonna fail. Oh, this is ugly. Oh, this is ugly. I see why you guys aren't really trading too much these days with this, or this like past 2 weeks or so. Yeah, you see. So if anything, like this is where like buy low, sell high comes from. Like buying low and selling high is relative. I mean, it's relative to like where you are, but like you just swept this, so like the direction's unclear. Like we failed to break a high, then we came back down here, but this is still technically bullish range, so that's solidified. So this break here technically means you're bearish, right? As of now, but I would rather want to sell up here, right? And so if that's what I would want, then to sell here just means like the pullback hasn't even started yet. But yeah, you guys see, yeah, this is I think it's another trade. It's another trade. Yeah. So that one I didn't agree. That first one I didn't agree with. This one, let's see your context on this one. Okay, better, better. This doesn't look. I mean, it looks like it's slightly swept, but more importantly, there's high momentum and there's lower momentum. So this one I'd like a little bit more, and you're within the entire range. This one makes more sense. Just because of the momentum. That's the only reason. Yeah, much more sense. And actually, like this is the higher probability scenario here, right? If you take these, oh, this is money here. Why? Because you waited for the transition. If you wait for the transition there, then you're gold. So this would be technically like LGC, right? High probability LGC, TP1, and then align it to go to a higher. But yeah, guys, like my new thing. I mean, I don't want to call it a new thing, but like the root of every single one of my losses is like alignment these days because I know my concepts, so it's not a concept issue. But it's all alignment. So like you want keywords like look for fractal alignment. Fractal alignment's everything. Structure, concepts, everything. The more that you can align to build a favorable outcome, the higher probability scenario will be. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me for today. Yeah, you see, like this. Don't be like this guy. Don't be like this guy. Please, don't be like that guy. This is good. I like this. This here is like a good setup. Um, decent. Yeah, you see, this one's very good. This is good. Let me see. Sweet, but like this is like the entire, like that's the entire reason why you won right there. Yeah, the momentum's the only thing that could really give me that assumption there. So you see, like this is the alignment that I'm kind of talking about. It's like this transition. The only way to align is like from a foresight POV. It's like what what if this is to succeed? If this transition is to succeed, right? Like, and by succeed I mean take this out. If this is to take this out, what does that mean? Like externally. Like if this is to break, which it is, then that means that you have unwillingness, right? And that means that you're continuing the overall bearish move and you're within a premium. So, like the execution, right? The target of that execution is good, but if you want to achieve like a bigger trade, it's like you have to realize what that scalp scenario winning causes, which would be this. If this is to be the case, and obviously that means that this is a failed bullish move to the upside. So this is worth taking because if it is to succeed my TP1, then it could actually snowball into this low. But the thing is like by the time you're able to note that it's going to snowball to here, like the execution may not be available. That's what it means to catch a transition. Oh no, this is bad. No, no, no. No. Like this looks pretty, but this is exactly why people see like 30 losers before they see a winner or they see trades that they can't explain. This is very good. This is that scenario we talked about. This is a perfect trade. Very good, bro. Very good. Very good. This is very good too. What is it? AJ? Very nice, bro. This is very nice. But you see, like, even though these are different scenarios, there's consistency to his logic. And it's all alignment. Continuation range to clear exit point B. What's exit point B? Oh. Uh-huh. No. The external is this. These highs are not relevant until this one of them breaks. See, like, why are you considering this one? Why are you considering this low to be important to justify the bearish move? Because this is the low that went into the high. And then therefore, that's the last time a low, or that's the actual time when a low that went into a high is broken. Not necessarily this high, but even this high. Right? Like, yes, you have low into high, low into high. That never broke. That never broke. So, like, the important thing here is obviously that they're sweeping equal highs. But the second most important thing here is that you're actually taking out a low that leads into the high, which means there is a transition internally. So then if you have an alignment here, then you have the probability of at least getting a reaction to like here. And that's enough to take a partial, take a break even, etc. Like GU. Right? Low into high. Right? This is a CBOS, but till we have unwillingness, that break with momentum is what gave me some type of conviction. Right? But it's because we are bearish. But more importantly, right, if we're looking at low into high, that is a CBOS, but this sell here would be a technically a high risk sell because the internal range is still bullish. So this is the beginning of the pullback, solidified high, right, and solidified low internally. But more importantly, it's what happens after the CBOS, right? That although it didn't fully break or give this dual sweep, that dual sweep would be like a much higher probability move for me. But the high momentum here is probably the big telltale. And so I'm aligning different levels of structure, that being that, and then there's obviously external structure to this, right? But I'm aligning that level of structure with this internal level of structure with this momentum, right? To then look for the execution. And that is being aligned with a sweep. Right? And then there's obviously more bearish structure here. So it's all alignment, bro. It's all alignment. But yeah, guys, I do have to go here soon. Do you have any more questions? I don't really get what the question is here. Do you consider range 1 or 2 as external? Why would that be external? This is inside. This is inside this. Internal, inside, external, outside. But yeah, guys, keep thinking about well, for one, if you want to take something out of this, like everything is alignment. That's probably gonna be my new I don't want to say slogan, but alignment is probably going to be like the next big thing, like the next thing that I'm going to be talking about for like the next couple of months. It just makes a lot of sense. And yeah, like I said, in 3 weeks we have the RCV anniversary, so I'm gonna lock in and see what I can do for then. I'll probably do the first workshop that weekend. I'll start sketching it out soon. And then the journaling app, we'll see what I do with that. It's almost done. Um, but yeah, if I can make that free, it would be cool. And that way I just post it and I don't really care about it. But if not, if there is like going to be like server costs or stuff like that, then I can make it relatively cheap. But really, I would like to make it free and like just not have to worry about it. Or I could even make it like a website that let's say you upload like your CSV from your broker or something. Because the hardest part is definitely getting the integrations in for different brokers. That's like the hard part. That's what actually does cost money. Like you'd be surprised, like even just trying to connect like MT4 integrations to your website is very expensive. I don't know about more other brokers, but like if I could just make something where you upload a CSV that's just directly from your account, print out a decent report for you. I don't know. We'll see. I want to make it easy, simple, good looking, and effective. And then the fundamental app I'm still working on. Um, I'm still working on this other thing I've been working on for a couple months, but that way is still far away from being done. I want to be able to actually code people's strategies, but actually code them. So like, there's a lot I have to account for. But yeah, any more questions, concerns, guys, or are we good here? But yeah, be ready for next week. Maybe next week is when I'll make some more announcements. And then, like I said, Cove is coming out in like 10 days. Cool. Any more questions, concerns? No?